Now let's take a look at a flow called Script Builder. Now it's quite common for people to want to generate scripts based on some kind of input, and they can get quite sophisticated rather than having to type scripts in manually. This could be input to automation scripts or into databases, or whatever kind of activity you're performing. So here's a little script that I need to I'm actually just trying to make some changes to some tables, and I've got to do some alter tables, and I've got to fill in table names, I've got to fill in column names, index names, etc. Now these are the tables I wish to apply them on, and I could type them all in, or I could gradually do some edits and go through each one by one. But what I want to do is to actually just generate all these based on these scripts. Now you can do it with some SQL scripting, but we think using VIP is a much more sensible way to go. So first things first, I'm just going to have a look at the list of tables. So I've run a little query, and I'm just going to literally dump the tables, and all I have to do here in this particular product is just save results as, and I just can pop them in and save them to a little file called tables.csv, which is just a simple way of dumping them out. Now if we go into, so what I've done now is create a little spreadsheet, and this is actually going to be we'll call lists of stuff, and this is the activity that I'm going to be using to in effect read each one of these tables, which I just got from the list. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then I'm going to apply a script snippet that I'm going to use just to show you how you do the import. If you in Excel, if you just go to data, text from CSV, and then just go off and find the file we created, and there's tables.csv, and just click load, and that will just drop it in. And that's just a nice simple way of being able to just push some data into the spreadsheet, which is what we're going to use to drive our script generation. So if we go back to lists, so here what we've done is we've got just the data that we're going to be driving it on, and it's just come in as column 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all I really care about. And then I've added an additional column in your case this could be 1 or 2 columns. I've just added another one with a field called add project id.text. Now add project id.text, let's just go and open that, is in effect a little snippet, and that snippet contains, I've just used this little keyword which is tilde at 3 at tilde, and I've just replaced the bits of the script that I want to replace, like so. Now why 3? Because that is the third column that I care about. Now I'm only going to do any transformations if there is actually one of these present. So I could have quite a long list, and I might have different scripts dependent on the different types of activity I wish to perform. So we've now got our script, we've created our little snippet like so, and then I'm going to go and have a look at Script Builder. So let's just open the script, and we are going to have to set a couple of parameters. So if we look at the arguments, you'll see the list of the spreadsheet, which is lists of stuff. I'm going to create an output file which is called output script. I'm also going to put in a header and trailer. If you don't push these in, then nothing will happen. And I need to tell it the column number with templates. So let me just run it, and then what we'll do is we'll just have a quick look at what's created, and then we'll go into the flow itself and have a look to see what it's actually doing. First things first, it's open, so I need to just close that spreadsheet. If when you're using VIP, you need to make sure that any spreadsheets are closed, otherwise you'll get this error. It will detect it, so it will fail gracefully. Let's just run it again, and you can see it's run through. These ones it's ignored, but you can see it's reading add project, and then it's replacing these. The one that we care about is with test category, like so. And then if we just go over to output script here, you'll see we've actually generated a script, and you can see here that we've come through, we've put in the test category test, so forth into the script. And then what I could do is then just copy that script in here, and in fact I was just testing it before, and you can see I've run it through, and that's now created that script. So that's what it looks like. If you look through the flow, it's actually just sort of, if you're learning VIP, there might be 1 or 2 interesting things in here. So first things first, it's good practice. So if you see here read header, let's just see that. It's actually a type catch. So quite often it's much easier to just drop a catch on the table. Now catch is a sort of .NET concept, or it's a programming concept, and in there I would then go in and use something which would be the files, which would be read a file. So now what happens then is I'm going to read a file, and then the catch is going to say add a new catch. What kind of exception do you want? Now in this case it's going to be an IO exception, but if you just put system exception, that pretty much catches anything if you don't want to go and find out every specific type of exception. Once you've done that, then you need to tell us, and what I tend to do is just create a single variable, which I just call var OK, and I tend to set that variable to -1, and that means that when I come out of the catch I can then just see if it's been if it's failed. You could put a log message in there as well if you want to. So if you look here, this is where I'm reading the header, and here I've got if var OK equals 0, great, carry on, and here you can see I'm adding a header. If you look in here when you go into for each row in the Excel spreadsheet, because we're just issuing a read Excel, which is one of the options over in the data. Here you go, read Excel data, and if you come in here to double click to view, you'll see now what I've got here is I'm just checking to see, so this is string is null or empty item, so we're saying item in var date table select. Now that's the data that's coming in from the spreadsheet. So in .NET languages, 0 is the first column in an array, so the par column number with template is 5, which is the one we've passed in, which we're going to make 4, and all I'm seeing is it empty? If it is empty, we go down here, nothing happens. Otherwise we move into the flowchart, and here this is the snippet that we've read in from the column name. Again, I'm using the catch to see if the snippet exists for a bit of robustness, and then here I'm just constructing a while loop, and I'm just using one of the replace string constructs, and that's basically replacing my ats with the variables that I'm processing. I'm just putting a little log file activity out, and all I'm doing is looping through all 4 columns to see if I need to replace them, and that's really all I'm doing is I'm pulling the string in which I just read from the snippet, and then I'm pushing out to the same string, so I'm replacing it as I move along. Okay, so that's what the kind of loop concept is. Okay, so hopefully you can see it's pretty straightforward. If you wanted to make it more sophisticated, you could put some if logic inside the flowchart. Basically, you could get into some more interesting things inside here, and maybe inside the while statement. In fact, that would be the place to do it. What you would probably do there is just put a new flowchart. Okay, so that's how Script Builder works. If you look in the program data, you'll see this very example, so feel free to use it and play with it yourself. You could obviously just change these text files and input whatever you want into lists of stuff, .xlsx as well. Okay, I'm now going to move on and show you some scripting to do with this is a nice example of generating some scripts for some automation, and it's to do with the Eggplant functional tester tool. So we're in the folder Eggplant Canvas drop test, so let's just go and open that. So that's the flow we're going to be running, and then I'll explain to you what we're actually up to. So if we just take a quick look at Eggplant. So the way Eggplant works is that we have an application on the right hand side, and here we've got some scripting. And we're going to, you can see we're going to drag an image, and we've scraped most of the images on the application already, and here we can see we're actually just testing VIP itself. So these are images, and if you hover over it, you'll see images as you hover over them. Now these images actually live in a particular folder, so if you're familiar with VIP, you'll see images, and you can see there's all sorts of different images in here. Now if you're quite clever about the naming standards on them, you can actually generate scripts based on what you actually want to perform with the specific images you care about. Okay, so here I've grouped under VIP, I've said Kansas, and then Canvas, and then I've got designer and flowchart, like so. So if I go back to the folder, in the examples folder, you'll see here we've got VIP designer.txt. Now if we just open that in Notepad++, you'll see what we've done is we've taken the original egg script and we just put in a little tag called egg tag1, and again if we go back to the folder, you'll see egg tag 1, we'll just open that as well, and you can see we've come in here and I've just put in the word action, etc. So you can get quite clever with this in terms of being sort of sophisticated in if logic and the like. So that's pretty much the core script. That's the bits that we're going to include. Now the difference with this one is that instead of using file import, we're using files in folder activity. So we've literally just picked up files in folder. And that's going to look through what we're interested in, the actual files themselves, and we're popping it into the variable var files in folder, which is just a list of strings. You can see we've got a particular search pattern here as well, par, HLQ, and PNG. You could play around with that, obviously, depending on what you're up to. PNG is the image name. We're populating an action list, reading in our template, and then basically for each action list, which is what we're doing there, we're actually then just going through and popping out, doing our replacements, and writing out the string like so. So if we run this now, so that's run through, it's looked at the folder, found the files that match with the patterns we're interested in, found egg tag 1, and then it's substituted the file names in, or the components of the file names that we need, into our script. And then if we go and have a quick look at the script we've created, you can see here that we've actually populated those little bits of script like so. So hopefully you can see with the eggplant canvas drop test and the script builder, you've got some pretty powerful ability here to create some scripts. What you might want to do then is actually just add these in as, if you're doing common types of activities across your organization, you could actually export the flow with a set of parameters. So if you look at script builder, for example, look at the arguments, you would then just have an activity where you could put in lists of stuff and create scripts easily as part of other activities. That's it for today.